Scotts Bluff is an excellent national park that stretches through the history of covered wagons, extreme geography, and perilous journeys through the plains and prairies and further west. But due to the steep undulations of the Badlands, many avoided this area intentionally. 10,000 years, the surrounding region was used as a prairie pathway. Natives found resources around the North and South River to be plentiful. It's called the Old Oregon Trail, or Nebraska Highway 92. The road to the summit was built in 1851, replacing Rubidoux Pass as the preferred route through the hills on the Emigrant Trail. 1868, the Congress of the United States authorized holding a Great Treaty Council with Plains Indians to assure peaceful relations along the overland trails. The gathering was the largest of its time, encompassing 21 chiefs of the Plains tribes. The Comanche, Kiowa, and Apache refused to attend. Initially, the treaty was dubbed the Horse Creek Treaty, but it was eventually considered a broken promise, so all parties involved that were still interested in peace gathered again to renegotiate in 1868, marking an end to hostilities along the plain.
No guns me, no guns you.
Chimney Rock and a couple other places. There is definitely way out there on the horizon another rock. You might be able to see it, but I passed that a while ago, and that's pretty far away. So I come back here. It almost looks like a castle in a way, right? Some triangular shapes, but also some rounded shapes. And so yeah, those are kind of cool rock formations we got out here. And it's really nothing but wilderness, or should I say nature. There's not a lot of anything else, but just the natural world around you. Down below, I think we're near Cheyenne, Wyoming, and that's probably the closest major town here. But you have some like a granary out there, you know. As far as what this place is significant for, obviously you have in the more in the 1800s, you had people going from the east coast of America and starting to venture further into the expansive territory to the west. There's a couple problems though. You have a very difficult dollar stores along the way. You're not going to hit any Walmarts, and to be honest with you, food would become very scarce pretty quickly. This is the middle of, there's not a lot of wildlife here because of people, but features here, but most importantly, it offered a pass through the difficult terrain of the surrounding area, like the Rocky Mountains, which is just, you can't get through that shit on a covered wagon. So this is one of the passes. It's Scotts Bluff, and it was predominantly used right around those periods. 1868, we signed some treaties. Yeah, so there were some treaties made and stuff like that. It made it a little safer for the travelers to come through here. There wasn't a heck of a lot of violence right in this general area, but there was violence outside of this area. Trekking through here as maybe a 4-person family, a guy, a girl, and 2 kids, maybe a dog, you're gonna have it rough, man. And so they did these giant shuttle runs, and there would be a bunch of wagons together, all as a group. They sort of traveled together, lived, played, worked together, protected each other, stuff like that. So there was a little danger with tribes. And bison were huge along this river down here. And it was basically, as the settlers, the way it's written, as the settlers and pioneers came through, so many people, so many things going on here, it scared off a lot of the wildlife. Plus, it sort of chopped bison colonies in half. So in one set, you're almost dividing the entire population by settling here, because the bison go north of the river and south of the river, and you don't let them cross really. So it became a grounds for overhunting, using the meat and the hides, and typically just wiping out an amazing creature. It didn't hurt Americans. It hurt the tribes in the area, though. And our amazing bison population, which you'd probably be able to see thousands upon thousands as you look out over this beautiful area. You're going to see nothing but bison. It's going to be covered with them. Plenty more history to it than just what I'm able to explain to you. A lot of people, a lot of well-known people, a lot of pioneers and shit. They came through here. They did a lot of stuff, and I'd say go ahead and research that stuff. It's pretty cool if you go into it, but I'm not going to explain it all. It's kind of deep. Just getting a once over of it. While traveling through this area, it's easy to see how these could be used as guideposts. It would be a very obvious marker for anyone traveling in that area, and they could link up there and settle for a few nights before moving on. But yeah, it's a nice formation that you can see for a long ways. And sort of does what you want it to do. It flows right into those. It flows. Let's see here. So it flows. Down this high spot, and then it floods over there. So it's a pretty good place for all that. Holy shit, that's pretty far down. Crap. This is my favorite part of the trip. Woo! So, amazing animal. You know, it's got its respect, but definitely our efforts kind of put a nail in their coffin. So it was dangerous and difficult, and because it was along the Platte River, the North Platte River, there was constant fresh water for you, and a lot of wildlife down by the rivers. So it was a good route to take. So And this was one of the lowest spots along the Rockies. There's a couple other as you go up into Wyoming that they use. I think South Pass was one that they used in Wyoming. It's less mountainous. And it's pretty much, you can almost see the end of the Rockies. They're kind of barreling down. Kind of start back up a little bit again, but that was the pretty low spot. And a lot of these people, which is what this is called, traveled along the Oregon Trail. And the Oregon Trail could give you dysentery. You could blow your Ford, meaning you try to cross the river and everything gets swept away. Or you get killed by outsiders or insiders, who knows. And it was kind of a difficult mission. Not just in terms of food, and not just in terms of transportation, but in terms of surveillance, weather, all that stuff. So it was perilous. But this is it. This is what they kind of did. And they came through here. They saw some amazing things. And the settlers were happy, and the pioneers were happy because they found a route which they could go through, so they didn't have to climb the freaking Rockies. So that's why this is important. This is Nebraska. It's called Scott's Bluff, and it is pretty. You're up on a higher elevation. I'm up probably 3,000 feet or so. It's not huge, but it definitely has a different feel to it, a different elevation. So this is sort of the backside of it. I'm gonna turn around for you and you see some of that. That's pretty awesome down there. Like, those formations are freaking cool as anything. And I could see on the tunnel I just went through, I could see plaster. So obviously the tunnel wasn't there when the pioneers were here, and they created that tunnel, but while they created it, they had to sort of piece it together and make it look natural. So there's some plastered areas around here, which obviously weren't here back then, but for the most part, this is pristine. And they always say, or at least in the guides in the handbook says, whatever's on the opposite side of this thing is pretty much left pristine. It's about the way it was then. So they've done a good job at stuff like that. And right now I'm heading towards the South Overlook Trail. Quarter of a mile. Anybody can do it. And it's a little cold today. I didn't wear my gloves. They're getting a little cold. But the best part about it is there's always snow. Wherever I go, there's freaking snow. Everywhere I go. Every time I go to one of these places, there's snow. It's kind of cool. I don't know why. And so you get to see sort of the natural array of things, flora and fauna, hopefully, but you get this natural array, and you mix in it with a little bit of snow, not a lot, because then you couldn't see it all. It would all be white. So I'm going to show you something. You may remember the 1989 movie Dances with Wolves. Although it was filmed in Wyoming and South Dakota, it references Fort Sedgwick, which was a post built in 1864 near the eastern border of present-day Colorado. It was used to guard the overland stage route due to the increased skirmishes with Sioux and Cheyenne. The flow of pioneers would travel from St. Louis, the gateway to the west, along this route to settle in the Great Plains and push even further into Oregon. One of the casualties of this human migration were the plains bison. Naturally, the natives felt threatened as they watched their plentiful expanse become overpopulated and resources become obsolete.